Happy Monday and welcome to Casting the Net, Reeling in Holistic Health, where we care about your mental health and well being. I'm your host, Coach Rice, and I want to make sure that you tune in every Monday at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, where I have my special guest on to talk about real issues that matter most. I want you to check us out on YouTube, Facebook Live, on Business Facebook page, also on the Be Awesome Network. Stay tuned. I think you're going to really like this next guest.
Welcome to Mondays with Coach Rice. It's a brand new week, the sun's shining bright, a chance to cast your net, step into the light. Life's full of challenges, it's a winding stream, but with Coach Rice, you'll find your dream.
Happy Monday and welcome to Casting the Net, where we care about your mental health and well-being. I am your host, Coach Rice, and with me today, I have Coach Violet Coots. She is a freedom coach, and we want to really get into a dialogue about, exposing the fear factor. But before we get into that dialogue, I would love for Violet, I would love for you to tell us where you're from and how did you embark upon being a freedom coach and what is that?
Hey. Well, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here. So, I am in Bowling Green, Kentucky. I tell everybody I'm where the Corvettes are made.
Okay.
So, I'm in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and uh, my life experience and things that I've come through really in about 3 years ago, God said, okay, it's time to close the chapter on a 40-year insurance career and be a coach. And
Okay.
yeah, so I am walking that faith journey that he's got me on.
Wow. So what is tell the audience what's a freedom coach? Because I've not, we heard of different coaches, but what separates that from any other coach?
Well, what my passion is I want to see people walking in the freedom that Christ has died to give them.
Okay.
And so it has to do with inner healing and, looking at heart wounds, healing heart wounds. And so that type of freedom, living from the inside out is what I like to tell people.
Okay. And so we mentioned that we would talk about exposing the fear factor.
Yes.
Tell me more about how do you do that? What is that and how do you do it as
Okay.
a coach? How do you do it as a coach?
Right. Well, and what I do, and the whole thing on the fear factor and
Yeah.
how that came about really is because for too many years of my life, I let fear run my life. Fear stole a lot of things from me. And through my own journey of finding freedom, through my own journey of finding inner healing, and then what God has walked me through, what I've discovered is, and I knew fear, fear had me big back then and everything. But the more I'm into it and the more I've dived into different things, whether we're talking shame or we're talking guilt or we're talking people pleasing, all the emotions, all those negative emotions and things that we have,
Yeah.
when I dig down deep, there's a root there that's fear. We're afraid of something. We're afraid we're not enough. We're afraid that, people don't accept us if we're not perfect. So, that perfectionism really down deep is
Yes.
we're afraid. Yes. And so that's where we start is, what's going on in your life? What's those negative emotions? What's those really lies when you think about it that keep running through your mind you've either heard or you tell yourself, or they're just playing in the background and they're keeping you from being who you really are meant to be and who you could be. And they're holding you back and maybe you're feeling stuck. And so it's like, what are those? And then we start saying, okay, where do they come from? Who told you those things? When did you first learn those things? Is that true? Is those things true? And, as we dig down deep, we, typically we're going to find out there's a lie that we're believing down there. And we want to replace those lies with truth, because truth
Hmm.
sets us free. And so, and then we work,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah,
truth
we need
sets
to
us free.
operate on facts, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I'm going to say not just facts, but truth. And
Yes.
when I talk about the truth, I'm talking about the truth. I'm a faith-based coach, and so I stand on the truth of God's word. But I think, some things can be facts, but not necessarily what would be truth.
Give me an example because I never thought about it that way. I mean, I see it as kind of similar.
Well, and they are similar, but I would say something like, the fact may be, and just off the top of my head, I have to think of one here, but let's say someone said, okay, you look at your bank account, and
Oh
right
God.
now,
No, I'm just,
yeah,
I'm
okay,
just
but this
kidding.
is going to get about it, maybe you look at your bank account and your bank account is not where you want it to be. And that's a fact. It's got
Yes.
a set number of dollars in it, or it
Right.
doesn't have.
What I'm looking at is fact. That's what it is.
That is fact.
I can't unsee that. No.
Right. And so, you might say the fact could be, I'm broke. Today I'm broke. But the truth is, you don't have to stay there. And that's not who you were designed to be. The truth is that while you don't have money right now, I mean, just think, let's look at it like this. The day before you get your paycheck, you could be broke. But the truth is, money's already on its way.
Right.
So it's like, and that's probably, that may not be the best example, but that's one I came up with to begin with. But sometimes those facts, it's like, well, that's a fact, but maybe I'm not as successful today as I want to be. But and that might be a fact. But the truth is, I still have the ability to be successful. I've
So
still.
basically, the fact is, I'm standing. I'm on Earth. The fact is, I'm on Earth. I'm talking to you right here on Zoom.
Mhm,
But the truth is, I'm sitting in heavenly places.
that's exactly right.
That's
Yes.
okay.
Yes. Yep.
I got you. So when it comes to fear, because fear will paralyze you
Mhm.
and not have you move forward. What's some of the behavior symptoms that you see when you deal with when your clients are dealing with fear of success? What are some of the behavior patterns you see?
Uh, they're stuck. You know, they you can't necessarily move forward, and it could disguise itself as procrastination.
Yes.
Because I'm a procrastinator. I'm a procrastinator type, thing.
Yeah.
But really, what is way down there is that fear. It's the fear of, and it might be the fear of success, or the fear of it's overwhelming, and or the fear that I'm not good enough. I don't have what it takes, but
I
really
don't have the capacity.
I
Yeah.
don't
Let's
have the
pull it off. Yeah.
yes. And so, but the truth is they do, we
Right.
do.
We do. Yeah. Like, well, I don't have time, but we really do. Yeah.
Yeah, yep, you're right.
Yeah. Sometimes that'll happen. Yes, absolutely. So how do you in your practice, what are some of the things you do to expose that fear? Because you mentioned exposing the fear factor. How do you do that?
Well, we ask a lot of questions and do this really internal, reflection, because down in us is the answer, to that, and we will find that. And so again, we start with, okay, what are you feeling right now? When did you learn that? Where did you learn that?
Mhm.
And what is your perspective of what happened? Maybe something happened, and but it's how we perceive that. It's what we believe about it.
Okay.
And
That
so
belief is big. Yeah.
belief is big, what we come belief, what we come into agreement with. So, typically we look at this, say, okay, I've come into agreement with I'm not enough, or, you know, and then but the good thing is, and here's part of that is once we see what it is, then it's like, okay, and we find that that there is a truth. We look at the opposite. What is the truth? Then I say simply, I mean, it takes, you learn habits and, it's things get down in there. So we have to, renew the mind and everything. But we can break agreement, just like you come into agreement with the lie and believe the
Right.
lie. Then what we do is we're going to break the agreement with the lie, and then we're going to replace it and come into agreement with the truth.
Okay.
So,
I
and
like that.
yeah, yes, it's
And
like
exposing it loses its power.
it does. Yes.
Mhm.
And you can't replace it until you know what you need to replace. You got to
Exactly.
find
You
what it
you
is.
got that right. You have to name it
Yes.
in order
Yes.
for you to understand what it really is.
Yes. And so it takes you being honest with yourself. It takes, looking on the inside, and sometimes we don't want to, but, um, it's like there's a cost to everything,
Oh yeah.
it's like you can choose to know that, hey, I don't like being where I'm at. I'm like, I don't like being stuck. I know I'm stuck. I know I've got this thing, whatever that is. But, we can even let fear keep us from looking at it face to face.
Right.
It's like, but where will you be a year from now? And when we look at it from both ways, if you don't do anything, where will you be a year from now? Or what is it costing you? Maybe it's
Right.
costing you, a job, a promotion. Maybe it's costing you doing those things that you really deep down want to do, but you're staying on the sidelines because of some fear. And as you face that, then you start having freedom, and then you're like, no, I like freedom. And you
I
start
like how you mentioned
recognizing.
I like how you mentioned that, where will you be a year from now? I like those process questions because they're huge. You have to answer those
Mhm.
because they real, and we do have to think about those questions when we are stuck because we do have choice.
Yeah.
That's one of the most powerful things to have is the freedom of to choose. And
Yes.
so in your, as a freedom coach, um, who are your ideal clients?
My ideal clients are the individuals who, they know they're stuck, or they know there's more. They know that, okay, this is not the life that I want. This is, there's more out there, and they're actually ready to say, enough is enough. Because until you're at that point, whatever it is, whatever, whether we're talking, hey, I want to lose weight, or I want to get a degree, if I want, we have to make a decision until we come to that point of I'm deciding now I want something better. I want something different. And so it's the one that says, no, enough is enough. I'm tired of living this life, and I want to live, to the fullest. I want the better. I want something, I want something
Right.
more.
And you do have to figure out what that fear is that's
Yeah.
holding, or whatever it is that's holding them back, because it's not always the same.
No. And the thing is, and the reason I think that the fear is the root of so many things is because we will look at, like, outside, we look at the symptoms.
Yeah. But
And
not
it's
really the root.
but yes, and when you're like, okay, no, we're over here trying to get rid of shame or guilt. But until you get to that root and you really find out, you might find out. I'll give you an example. Me personally is that, a year or so ago, it was like I was really putting myself down because I really felt like I was procrastinating. It's like I'm just a procrastinator, and that was frustrating to me because it's like I know I'm a hard worker, I know, but certain things. And then, but what I found out was that what I was not a procrastinator. When I get overwhelmed, I, I get stuck.
Shut down.
Yeah.
Right.
It's kind of like the fight or flight or, and even
Yeah.
on. And it's like,
Freeze.
yeah, freeze, and it's like, no, this is not, I'm not a procrastinator.
Right.
I saw that it was an overwhelmed situation. And then you just say, okay, what do? I break that down into smaller steps. So, I break that down. So as we walk through that process and we're open, people are, once they start seeing, they're like, oh wow, that's a real weight off of my shoulders. Once they start seeing that freedom and realizing that they do have power, because I think that's another big thing that fear does. It can leave us
Hmm.
feeling very hopeless and very powerless. And we can start believing that lie, that there is no hope and that we don't have any power. But that's a lie that, but until we expose that, and you realize, no, I do have power. I can make that choice. I can change
Right.
my mind. I can take a thought captive and put another thought in its place.
You know what's interesting is that, and I love how, like, procrastination, for instance, how it shows up and causes you to label yourself something you're not. But
Yes.
it's interesting because you can't get past that if you don't understand it's really not that, you
Right.
know.
Yes. Yes.
You
Yes.
know, like, you know, it's the root, what's the root cause of you stopping? Because I remember when I wanted to first do a podcast, I procrastinated. I did one or two and then I stopped and then I procrastinated. And I was like, I am such a procrastinator. But then I wasn't, because overwhelm is the response to procrastination.
Mhm.
And when you feel overwhelmed, you shut down. It's like this causes this.
Right. Yes.
And I remember just saying, you know what? I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
I was afraid of how I sound on the podcast.
Right.
And
There's a
I
fear.
just said, you know what? Let me just do it and grow from here. Go from here and grow.
Yes.
It was hard, but I had, you said, like you said, take one step at a time. Because if you're writing a book and you're afraid to write a book, each day or each week, write something
Yeah.
so that you get, and then you look up and you got a whole book.
Right. Yes. Yeah. It's amazing what small steps and what small adjustments
Mhm.
can do, but we have to take that first step.
Yes. And once you take it, it's like every inch grows into a mile.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's, man. And freedom is huge. Oh, to have freedom in your life, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Um, so when you working with your clients, do you see, when you see the transformation, what areas do you mostly see where freedom takes place?
Well, I see a lot of, um, really the mind, is, when it's there, because that's where you're changing those thoughts and everything. And like I said, it's kind of like, oh, wow, that's a weight that's gone. Now they've got joy, and I've heard see people who, joy has just come. Or it's like, I had a gentleman say, oh, I thought, I've always felt like I've been drowning. And he's like, for the first time in 40 years, I don't feel like I'm drowning anymore.
Oh wow.
And, and to see somebody say, oh, I do have power, I can make a choice. And just to see them from that, like I said, inside out, you just see, facial expressions are totally different. What was it? It was like,
Right.
it's just, kind of not necessarily hard, but just stressed and everything. And then there's peace. And when that peace comes and stuff. So
Yeah, that
it's
light bulb
exciting.
moment, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So do you have anything special or anything coming up exciting that you're doing?
I'm working on a course that actually is exposing the fear factor, to where I will be able to do like a course on that. And I do have, kind of related. To me, it's kind of all related. When we talk about freedom, I have like a 3 day, a 3 session. I'll put it say it's not necessarily 3 day, but a 3 session heart reset program that I offer. And so, and again, because heart wounds come into play in this, as
Okay.
well. When you see the
Now,
lie,
with that
fear.
3 day, is it 3 consecutive days? Is it like ongoing? Is it like when you book it, your 3 days start? How does that work?
It's three. I said 3 days. It's 3 sessions, so that
Oh,
we
three
we
session.
would
Okay.
make
So
the
it's
three
okay.
sessions to, because
I
some,
think you might have said 3 sessions and I thought 3 days.
yeah, I think I said 3 days and I said no, it's 3 sessions, but yeah, so I think
Okay.
I messed you up there.
But that's okay. Clarifying.
Yeah, yeah,
And
but
so it's whenever they want to start.
yes, yeah,
Okay.
it's whenever they want to start and everything. But yeah, I'm working on this course. That's my next exciting thing is that I'm working
Okay.
on a course and everything. And so I
And
do.
what's the goal of your course?
My goal, the goal of of the course is, again, I'll go back to that freedom. It really is to let people see how fear, just how much fear plays a part in all these
Right.
emotions and stuff. And to, to get that handle so they can start recognizing it and say, nope, 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 I got your number.
That's
I've got your
awesome.
number.
Is it going to be an online a course or virtual or in person? How is that going to work?
I would say 99% of the time it's going to be like a virtual course. And,
Okay.
but, locally, I'm not opposed to, and I would like to, do more speaking and things like that. So
Okay.
we'll have to see where God's going to take it.
Okay. Well, all right. So, well, that is exciting. And if you had one piece of advice you want to leave with the audience, what would that be?
It would be intentional to think about what you're thinking, especially about what you're thinking about yourself, and start taking those thoughts captive, start taking a hold of those thoughts and asking the question, where did this come from? Is it true or is it a lie?
All
Because
right.
if we're not intentional, they'll just roll right on through there. So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Coach Violet. And I will put your links in the video and so that anyone who wants to experience freedom from fear or freedom period in your life, reach out to Coach Violet.
Mm.
And to the audience, if you feel that this has been amazing for you, please don't forget to subscribe, follow me on Apple or Spotify, and subscribe on YouTube so you can get alerts saying, oh, it's another episode, another wonderful person on casting the net. Well, anyway, so thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. And just happy Monday and have a great day.
It's your time to shine. Your journey to chart. Coach Rice wisdom.